Today we're talking about points, lines, and planes, and these are undefined terms of geometry, and sometimes we have to use these undefined terms and accept them as facts. So talking about the first one, a point indicates a location and has no sides. So it has no sides, but it does represent a specific location. So to name that, you would use a capital letter, and for example, this one right here would be point A. A line is a straight path that extends in opposite directions, in two different directions. It has no end, it goes on to infinity, it also has no thickness, and it contains infinitely many points. There are a couple different ways to name a line. The first way is you have pick 2 points that are on the line, for example here, AB, and you draw a line over it. The letters could be reversed as well. You could call it line BA. Another way to name this is there is a small uppercase letter at the end of the line, and you can call this line L. A plane is represented by a flat surface that extends without end and has no thickness. A plane contains infinitely many lines and also has infinitely many points. To name a plane, you name it by the capital letter in the upper corner that has no point associated with it, so this could also be called plane P. You also name it with 3 points that do not lie in the same line. So this could be plane ABC. A lot of times you'll see a plane represented in a cube. It's kind of like the walls of a room, and each wall and ceiling and floor can represent a plane. Okay, so let's talk about collinear. If you look at these defined terms, collinear, these defined terms use undefined terms in their definitions. Okay, for collinear, co means together, and you have the word line. So points that are together on the same line is collinear. And see, we use points and line. We use those two undefined terms in that definition. Coplanar, you have together, and if you add E right there, you have together on the same plane. Okay, so coplanar are points that lie in the same plane. And again, you have two undefined terms used to define a defined term. So let's look at some examples using the knowledge that we've built so far. This green figure right here represents a plane. If you have a note card, it's kind of like having a note card and writing and drawing a line on it. This line right here would be like if you unfolded a paper clip and stuck it through the note card, it only intersects that note card at one point, which here would be point Q. Okay, so let's look at what we have. The first question says, what are 2 other ways to name line QT? Okay, so line QT is this line right here. It's the one I referred to as the paperclip going through the note card. Okay, so we can reverse those letters. We could name it line TQ with our line over it. We could also use the other letter here, which would be N, and we could call this line TN. Whoops. Sorry about that. So we have line TQ. I said we could use NT. We could also say NQ. And we could also reverse these. We've already reversed TQ, but we could reverse TN to be NT to be TN, and we could reverse NQ to be QN. Okay. So what are 2 other ways to name plane P? Well, they used plane P here. It was the point in the corner right here, so that you can use that, but it has no point associated with it, so therefore you know that is plane P. Now we can use any 3 points that are not on the same line. So we could use RVQ, and we could call it plane RVQ, or any combination of those 3 letters in any different order. Okay, we could use QSV, and we could name it plane QSV, or any combination of those 3 letters. Okay, what are the names of 3 collinear points on here? Okay, well, 3 collinear points would be points that lie on the same line. So we have R, Q, and S are on the same line, or we could use T, Q, and N, which also lie on the same line. What are the names of 4 coplanar points? So you each have to pick 4 points in the same plane. So here that would be V, R, Q, and S. How can you tell that the label P is naming a plane instead of a point? Because there is no drawn point for P. Okay, so why is plane RQS not a valid name for the plane? If you look closely, RQS are collinear points. They lie on the same line, and you have to name a plane with 3 non-collinear points. So this would be because they are collinear. Okay, next question. What points do lines L and M have in common? Well, if we look here, line L is this one right here, and then we have line M, which is this one right here. They intersect here at point Q, so that is the point they have in common. So it is Q. Okay. Can you use undefined terms to define other terms? And the answer is yes, you can, which is what we were doing up there with collinear and coplanar. Okay, so let's do that now. So a part of a line that consists of 2 endpoints and all points between them is called a segment. So here we have the word line and points. Okay, so we use those undefined terms to define segment. To name a segment, you're going to name it by its endpoints. So here we have segment AB, or we could reverse those letters and call it segment BA, but we have to draw the segment above the letters. Part of the line that consists of 1 endpoint, which is an initial point, and all the points of the line on one side of the endpoint is called a ray. So here we use the words line, and we have points. Okay, so a ray starts in one point and goes forever in the opposite direction. Okay, so this first one up here, when you name it, you start with the initial point, which is A, and name any other point on the ray, which here would be B. So this would be ray AB, and you have to draw the arrow above it. The one that I just drew right here, let's call this TM. All right, the initial point is T, so I name it starting with T, and then name another point on the ray. This would be TM. Opposite rays are 2 rays that share the same endpoint or initial point and form a line. So looking at this diagram right here, this ray here, C, starts at C and goes forever to the left. That's ray CA. The other ray here starts also at C and goes all the way through B. Okay, so the opposite rays here are CA and CB. There are other rays in the diagram, but there's only one pair of opposite rays. Okay, a geometric figure is a set of all points, and space is a set of all points in 3 dimensions. Those are 2 other terms that we can define using undefined terms. So let's look at this diagram. What are the names of the segments in the diagram? Okay, so we have several segments here. We have segment DE. We have segment DF. And we have segment EF. And we can name these differently as well. We can name ED as DE. I'm sorry, ED. We can name segment DF as FD. We can name segment EF as FE. Okay, what are the names of the rays in the diagram? Okay, well, we have ray DE, which is the same thing as ray DF. We also have ray EF, and we have ray FD, which is the same thing as ray FE. Okay, which of the rays are opposite rays? Well, we have an initial point here at E, and it goes forever in this direction going through point D. So we have ray ED, and we have the other ray starting at E going through F that way. So EF. All rays, all opposite rays, will always have the same first letter. Okay? Thanks for watching, and subscribe to my channel for other math videos.